Jnanamirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulmilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Manupeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Virahakatara Ajuhava Puteti Tanmaitaya Taravo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshay Kiptascha Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we continue with the third shower of nectar of the Sri Madhurya Kadambini. We're now on text 5, and we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmana Jalila Pavishta, Om Vishnu Padasta Tatsat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Mahashala Prabhupada, and unto Sri Guru Pada Padmana Jalila Pavishta, Om Vishnu Pad Asta Tatsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, unto our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the assembled Vaishnavas Vaishnavis. So text 5 begins with the statement, the title, that Sri Nam Prabhu conceals his power from offenders to the holy name, being displeased with them. So up until now, we've been hearing, right, about the 10 offenses, right, some analysis of them, the process of eradication step by step as one progresses in bhakti. But here, we're going to hear that unless we address the aparadh that we may be committing, then we're not going to make advancement, right? That Sri Nam Prabhu will withhold the benefit. There'll be a different kind of benefit, but the real benefit, the beauty of Sri Nam will always be concealed, right? So we can't, this is why we have to really examine, drill down into these topics, right? And learn to distinguish, nurture our faith in the right way, understanding what is real, what is unreal, what is really Sri Nam and what is not. What mood we want to chant in and what moods we want to avoid. What are we really looking for? What is our sadhya? Therefore, how can we practice sadhana properly? So listen to what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says here. He says, when the sun-like holy name rises even once, a multitude of sins which are like an ocean of darkness are immediately destroyed. That's a quotation from Sri Rupa Goswami's Padyavali. Then he's going to quote Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 26th chapter. By hearing the name of Sri Bhagavan just once, even a wicked, dog-eating outcast becomes liberated from material existence. That means the process of liberation has begun. If they hear that from the lips of a pure devotee, right, then their path has begun. So he goes on to say, in the scriptures, oh, you know what? I don't have my phone in front of me. I'd like to look that verse up. How about we just wait 1 second? Maybe it'll be here. Maybe it'll be in the purport. Okay. In the scriptures, there are hundreds of similar evidences. Furthermore, the history of Ajamil clearly demonstrates that simply chanting a semblance of the holy name, Namabas, just once, destroys all of one's anarthas, including ignorance, and simultaneously awakens realization by which one attains Sri Bhagavan. All right. That's interesting because in that second chapter of that sixth canto, the conversation between the Jamadutas and the Vishnudutas, which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reveals in his purports, they say that, the Vishnudutas, that his one-time chanting destroyed everything, including anything he might do in the future, right? But then the Yamadutas say, well, then how come he's still doing all these terrible things if you say he's been purified? And then they describe that this is just the, like Srila Prabhupada would say, the winding down of the fan. It's unplugged, but it may continue to manifest some bad things, right? So this history of Ajamil clearly demonstrates that simply chanting a semblance of the holy name, Nam Abbas, just once, destroys all of one's anarthas, including ignorance, and simultaneously awakens realization by which one attains Sri Bhagavan. Awakens it. It's not full, but it begins to be awakened, and this is what happened to him. After hearing the instruction of the Vishnu Dutas, he became inspired, and his understanding and faith in the holy name awakened, and he abandoned his sinful household life and went off to Hardwar to perfect his life. So now, having said that, Vishwanath Chakravarti says, this appears to be incongruent with the sequence of eradication of anarthas previously outlined. It is indeed true that the holy name possesses such potency. Of this there is absolutely no doubt. But because Namprabhu is displeased with offenders, he does not reveal his full potency to them. This is to be understood as the sole reason why the anarthas of such persons are not removed. So Ajamil was not an offender. He was chanting in Nam Abbas, right? Sankaityam, right? Meaning something else. Sankaityam parihasam va, stobam, helanam, evava, Vaikuntha nama grahanam, right? That name chanted, meaning, in his case, meaning something else, but innocently chanted, with no ulterior motive, right? None of the offenses were current in his chanting. He was chanting the name of Narayan. So much potency there. But when aparadh is there, then the anarthas are not removed. So Srila Narayan Maharaj explains, with various scriptural statements, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur harmonizes the 5 stages of anartha nivriti with the glories of the holy name. Remember, the holy name is a person. This is Krishna himself. And there are statements revealing the unlimited potency and mercy of Sri Namprabhu. But then there are examples to show that, but then there are also guidelines and things to do and things not to do, right? Things that we want, and then prohibitions to get the full benefit, how to chant the holy name. So, he quotes Srila Rupa Goswami's Padyavali, Angha samharad akilam sakrid udayad eva sakalalokasya taranir eva timara jaladim jayati jagan mangalam hare nama. Just as the rising sun dissipates all darkness, similarly, by uttering the holy name just once, all the sins of a living entity, which are like an ocean of darkness, are destroyed. All glories to this all auspicious holy name. Okay. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 16th chapter of that 6th canto, King Chitraketu has glorified Bhagavan Ananta as follows. Nahi Bhagavan Nagititam Idam Taddarshanam Nirnam Akila Papashaya Yanama Sakrich Travanat Bukashopi Vimuchate Samsarat. O Bhagavan, only direct audience of you destroys all of a person's sins. This is not impossible, because merely by hearing your name once, even a wretched, dog-eating outcast is liberated from material existence. Right? Now, we have a question about that, because there were a lot of people during the time of Krishna's appearance who saw the Lord directly. and it doesn't appear that their sins were all eradicated. They remained demons and even fought against the Lord. But let's hear how this unfolds. Thousands of such evidences describing the glories of Harinam are found throughout the scriptures. This is clearly understood from the life of Ajamil. By his calling the name of his son Narayan, that is, by his uttering a semblance of the holy name, Namabhas, all of his sins were destroyed. His ignorance, which is the root of all sin, was also vanquished, and he attained Bhagavan's lotus feet. How then can the sequential cessation of anarthas, Ekadesha Vartini, Bahudesha Vartini, Prayiki, Purna, and Atyantiki apply to a faithful devotee who accepts initiation from a bona fide spiritual master according to the precepts of Shastra and engages in Harinam Kirtan? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur raises this point and reconciles it. So that point being, okay, so Ajamil, he wasn't a devotee, but he got so much benefit and clearing of anarthas by his namabhas. And he wasn't consciously cultivating Sri Nam, serving, cultivating a mood of a genuine faith and love, but he got all these benefits. So then why are we getting these descriptions of people who are actually cultivating genuine devotion? Why do they appear to have to go through all these different stages? So, the reconciliation. Whatever the scriptures explain in regard to the glories of Sri Nam is completely true. There can be no doubt about this. Actually, the scriptures have described but a fraction of Sri Nam's limitless glories. There is no reason to disbelieve their statements. One who harbors any mistrust regarding this will be guilty of the terrible nam aparadh of thinking the glories of the holy name to be an exaggeration, or of the aparadh of concocting a mundane interpretation, right? Oh, the sages created this idea to create faith in this particular process. But the holy name isn't all that. It's just a, cleansing process, very much like, the processes of karma kanda, jnana kanda, right? Three different kinds of aparadhis encapsulated in these speculative ideas, right? The idea that it's exaggeration, the idea that it's the same as karma kanda and jnana kanda, right? And that this was all just created for the purpose of creating faith. It's not really the process that these verses describe. So you'll be guilty of that terrible nam aparadh of thinking the glories of the holy name to be exaggeration, or of the aparadhi of concocting a mundane interpretation. By uttering Namabhas, an inoffensive person destroys all his sins and thereafter attains Vaikuntha. Thereafter, Ajamil had to continue and go to Hardwar and practice with now knowledge of the glories of the holy name and with faith, having heard from the Vishnu Dutas. His anarthas were destroyed, but his love was not developed, right? His full eligibility for Vaikuntha was not established. So, in his Sarartha Darshani commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, in the second canto of that second chapter of the sixth canto, verses 9 and 10, those two verses are the ones where all the dialogue between the Vishnu Dutas and the Yamadutas is put in. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, and then he gives a Sanskrit verse, this means that an inoffensive person will not be delayed in attaining Bhagavan, because he does not have to pass through the stages of Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, and so forth. For him, there are only two steps: chanting the holy name and Nama Grahana, and ascending to Vaikuntha, Vaikuntha Arohana. Persons such as Ajamil exemplify this. Ajamil had committed many sinful acts, but he was not an aparadhi. Because of his unremitting attachment to wife and children, there was no opportunity for him to commit offenses such as blaspheming sadhus. As a result, there was nothing to obstruct the potency of Bhagavan's holy name from illuminating his inoffensive heart. On the other hand, although the holy name possesses all potency, Sarva Shaktiman, it does not manifest its potency to offenders, being displeased with them. One should not harbor even the slightest doubt about the glories of the holy name when it does not manifest its power. It is to be understood that the only reason for this is the iniquity of the aparadhi and his anarthas. And there's a similar verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that anyone who's chanting the holy name and whose heart all these ecstatic symptoms are not being experienced and blaspheming, one's not shedding tears and horripilation, such an iron-like heart is said to be the result of aparadh. So this is the thing that we have to contemplate and confront, each of us individually, that the holy name is capable, willing, and wanting to bestow all benefits. But either in this life or past lives or a combination of both, we've committed aparadh, especially to sadhus. Right? This is the most and deepest affliction. But when you analyze all the aparadhs, all of them are serious, but committing offense to sadhus, committing sin on the strength of chanting the holy name, minimizing the glories of the holy name, thinking them exaggeration, concocting a mundane idea of the holy name, all of these are just such direct insults to the holy name and to the devotees of the holy name. Right? So, casual chanting, inattentiveness, stubbornly maintaining attachments, right? And then there are more subtle ones, like preaching to the faithless, but sometimes perhaps in the enthusiasm of spreading Mahaprabhu's mission, when we may do that, that can be reconciled. But some of these others are very serious. And so all of us have to think on that very deeply. That, what have I done that I can't serve Sri Nam appropriately, that I can't embrace and relish the glory of chanting that name, of serving in that way, of chanting with love and affection. I'm an aparadhi. How terrible. Ajamil wasn't an aparadhi. He was just immersed in household affairs. And something else is going to come up about that in Jaiva Dharma. It's described that how does the aparadhi get beyond that? Well, if they continue to chant, if they hear something about the glories of the holy name, but then they just chant, 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 what will that do? That will remove them from the association that's unfavorable, that causes them to commit aparadh, right? And gradually then, by being removed from that unfavorable environment, and then consciously cultivating the proper mood, then aparadh will gradually disappear and namabhas will arise. And namabhas, the difference between namabhas and namaparad, is that when we, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Jaiva Dharma, which chapter is that? They're the 24th and 25th chapters describe nam, aparadh, and namabhas. And nam aparadh is knowing the 10 offenses and disregarding them, callously misusing the holy name, chanting for inappropriate persons, continuing to insult or offend devotees or the servants of the devotees. Whereas namabhas is a recognition of these aparadhs, but not intentionally committing them, but committing them out of weakness and sometimes ignorance, right? Inattentiveness. Trying, but still in a weakened condition, right? So if we're chanting and knowingly these things are coming in our heart, but we recognize it and we have remorse and we don't want it, and we're praying to our gurus and to Bhagavan to remove these, wicked mentalities, then that will transform into namabhas, and namabhas has its gradations as well. And ultimately, the aparadh will go away, then we'll only be chanting namabhas, and then one day, Shuddhanam will arise in the heart. This is how Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj explained it to me when I asked him that question, right? So for some people completely ignorant of Nam Tattva, they may chant in such a way that anarthas are destroyed very quickly. Ajamil wasn't really an offender, he was just a vishayi, an enjoyer. He offended and committed sin within the Varnashram context, but he hadn't committed offense to Sri Nam or even to the devotees. And actually, that's even described with Jai and Vijay. Before meeting Nityananda and Haridas, they had not committed offenses to the Vaishnavas. They had committed sin to all kinds of persons, but they'd not really been in a situation where they offended or created harm to the Vaishnavas. So they had some eligibility there. Okay, so one should not harbor even the slightest doubt about the glories of the holy name when it does not manifest its power. It is to be understood that the only reason for this is the iniquity of the aparadhi and his anarthas. So, what about these aparadhis? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, offenders, the title is Offenders to Nam do not meet with Yamaraj, but they cannot become purified. So after having said that, he says, even so, the envoys of Yamaraj, the Lord of Death, have no power to arrest such offenders to the holy name. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, 19th verse, in that story of Ajamil, the beginning, quote, even in their dreams, such persons never see Yamaraj or his emissaries who carry ropes. Padma Purana states, even the practice of self-restraint, jama, cannot purify offenders to the holy name, end quote. Here, the word yam refers to the 8 divisions of yogic mysticism, Ashtanga Yoga, such as adherence to rules, yama, and regulations, niyama. Who was a great yogi? Durvas Muni was a great yogi, right? Um, but he had offended Ambarish Maharaj. So all his powers and accomplishments could not save him. He had to get the grace of the devotee. Even the Lord himself said, I can't remove this offense. Only the devotee to whom you offended can free you from this. So, Srila Narayana Maharaj explains, the author makes another special point. Even if nam aparadh remains in a person who utters the holy name, still Yamaraj and his messengers have no ability to mete out punishment to him. As long as the nam aparadhis and nartas are not destroyed, he will not achieve the main fruit of chanting, prem, and he will never attain Bhagavan. He will, however, become free from the torments of hell meted out by Yamaraj. So how merciful is the holy name? Even an aparadhi can be free from that fearful situation of meeting Yamaraj. And then he quotes that whole verse that we heard the translation. Sakrinmana Krishna Padar Vindayor Iniveshitam Ta Gunaragi Yariha Date Yamam Pasha Britascha Tadbatan Sapne Pipashyanti Hichurna Nishkata. Those whose bee-like minds, greedy to taste the Lord's qualities, have even once tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, have performed all types of atonement. Even in dreams, they never see Yamaraj or his servants, who carry ropes, not to speak of the hellish planets. Right, so that's an interesting verse because it's indicating there's some greed there, right? And some experience, some taste in that chanting, although only one time. That kind of chanting, you've already performed all kinds of atonement, and they'll not see Yamaraj or his servants. So that's a little. Let's hear. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur now mentions Padma Purana's description of the 10 offenses of the holy name. Now he's quoting the 7th one. Nam no baladyasya hi papabudhir na vidyate tasya yamadhi shuddhihi. Those who have a tendency to commit sins on the strength of the holy name, or who actually commit them, are not purified by yam even after a very long time. So Srila Narayana Maharaj says this statement seems to prove that nam aparadhis do suffer punishment from Yamaraj. How then can we reconcile this with the first conclusion ascertained? Okay, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur resolves this as follows. It should be understood that the word yama in this verse about nam aparadh refers to the divisions of yoga, beginning with yama rules and niyama regulations. In other words, such aparadhis are not purified even if they follow jam and niyam for a prolonged period. Offenses to the holy name can be removed only when the name is pleased. How can the practices of jam, niyam, and so forth destroy them? This is the import of this statement. The word yama here has not been used to indicate Yama Maharaj, right? This is a little subtle because it's not so clear in that translation. Let's read that Bhavanuvad again. Let's read the 2 verses because the one follows the other. The first thing Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, when the sun-like holy name rises even once, a multitude of sins, which are like an ocean of darkness, are immediately destroyed. Quoting Padyavali. Then, by hearing the name of Sri Bhagavan just once, even a wicked dog-eating outcast becomes liberated from material existence. That's 26th chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam. In the scriptures, there are hundreds of similar evidences. Furthermore, the history of Ajamil clearly demonstrates that simply chanting a semblance of the holy name, Nam Abbas, just once, destroys all of one's anarthas, including ignorance, and simultaneously awakens realization by which one attains Sri Bhagavan. This appears to be incongruent with the sequence of eradication of anarthas previously outlined. It is indeed true that the holy name possesses such potency. Of this there is absolutely no doubt. But because Nam-Prabhu is displeased with offenders, he does not reveal his full potency to them. This is to be understood as the sole reason why the anarthas of such persons are not removed. So the history of Ajamil that he's mentioning, chanting a semblance of the holy name just once destroys all anarthas. That's the Namabas free from aparadh. It's described that in the progress of chanting, when one is still afflicted by aparadh and its results, one may have to chant. One will have to chant, very seriously, continuously. And then semblance of the holy name may arise step by step. But there are gradations of that as well. In the beginning, that Namabas may appear slightly, but still mixed with Namaparad. But when Namabas is chanted at the point where one no longer is afflicted by Namaparad, then that extraordinary result takes place. Right? So there is gradation. And there's also extraordinary power in that stage of Namabas. So the Namabas that's mentioned here indicates the mercy and power of the holy name with the extraordinary example of Ajamil. But at the same time, it's being mentioned that as long as aparadh is there, that full mercy and power of the holy name will not show itself, right? Completely. So then the next statement of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, following the one we just read, having heard of all that, even so, the envoys of Yamaraj, the Lord of Death, have no power to arrest such offenders to the holy name. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, even in their dreams, such persons never see Yamaraj or his emissaries who carry ropes. Right? So he quotes two things with the word Yama in it. The second thing he says, the Padma Purana states, even the practice of Yama, self-restraint, cannot purify offenders to the holy name. Here the word Yama refers to the 8 divisions of yogic mysticism, the Ashtanga Yoga, such as adherence to rules, Yama, and regulations, Niyama. Right? Self-restraint, Yama, regulations, don't do this, don't do that, right? Niyama, do this instead. So we get this idea of this interim stage between aparadh and just Namabas, free from aparadh. In other words, the mentality of aparadh. We may, because of weakness or ignorance, still be engaged to some extent. But when you think about it, the one about thinking the holy name's exaggeration, thinking that it's been created by sages to encourage faith in people attracted to this path, right? These kinds of offenses, once you gain some knowledge, you won't be afflicted by that. You know, the holy name exists. Those thoughts are easy to dispel, right? The other ones about inattentiveness, attachment to the body and the goals of the body, even after chanting, these things may still afflict us, but we're not chanting to fulfill material desires that, oh, by chanting the holy name, I can get the results of karma kanda and jnana kanda. That's not our intent. Our intent is to develop a mood of love and service. And if we keep that close while we're chanting, the influence of these other things, it's become it's a result of inattentiveness, not maliciousness, ignorance, not deliberate, not deliberate. And also, in that stage where we're becoming purified and into namabhas, we're very conscious of not committing offense to devotees, right? And but even then, the other one, which is dangerous, is neglecting the order of Sri Guru, or considering the Guru an ordinary man. These are very subtle thoughts, right? Having doubt in Sri Guru and his unlimited potency. So many devotees we know in our practice who minimize the capability and power of Sri Guru, and do things like, oh, well, our Guru is very expert in Sri Nam, but he doesn't know other things, right? This is described in Jaiva Dharma. He doesn't know, for instance, all the different teachings of the Vedas, or he's not expert in material affairs, right? Or so we have to correct him, or make some adjustment to his teachings. That's an offensive mentality, very offensive mentality, and that will erode your own bhakti very quickly. The most serious of all the offenses relate to Sri Guru and to pure Vaishnavas, right? So there we have to be very careful. And also in our dealings with the associates of Sri Guru, right? We've heard that story that Srila Prabhupada, when he chastised one of his secretaries who had been abusing Prabhupada's personal servant, yelling at him very loudly, very cruelly in another room, and Srila Prabhupada called him in and said, oh, you've committed so many offenses. I can't save you from that. You have to go now and apologize and beg forgiveness from my servant, because otherwise I even can't purify you from this. So that's an indication of how dangerous this is. We always have to honor Vaishnavas, and in our immature state of bhakti, we tend to be very sectarian and not able to recognize Vaishnavata in its various manifestations. People in this Sangha, they practice differently from those in our Sangha. At least it appears to us in that way. Or they're doing like this, but we don't do like this, so they're not real Vaishnavas. Or you criticize this one or that one. Not good. Not good. Wherever Vaishnavata, to whatever degree it manifests, we should recognize that and offer respect. According to our own level and our own faith, we may associate with this great devotee or that great devotee, but don't criticize other devotees, even devotees from other sampradayas. We don't criticize, because all are associates of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. And he's calling them all back to serve in all these different ways. Who are we to criticize or to find fault, right? So then he says that, in that purport, then that once you've had even a little taste to serve the Lord, right, to chant the holy name and get some taste in that, then that's a great, great accomplishment. And you won't see Yamaraja. And that the idea of taste, again, just like all the other aspects of bhakti, there are gradations of that. And we have to think in that way, what Srila Prabhupada explained sometimes, that in the beginning, even the neophyte devotee, they can get taste. But what is that taste? It's an abhas, it's a shadow, but it's a shadow of the real thing. Chaya bhakti abhas is, just like a shadow of a tree is connected to the tree. And you see like this two-dimensional representation of a tree. It's nowhere near if you'd never seen a real tree, you can't detect what a tree is just by the shadow, but it has some connection, right? But for one who has seen a tree, and they see it in 3 dimensions, they see leaves, they see color, they see texture, they smell the fruit, they see all these different things, they can recognize that tree in the shadow, right? So one time, I've mentioned this before, but it's key here, that when one time when Srila Bhaktivedanta Bhartaraj was discussing things, he was talking about the experiences of the Madhyam Vaishnav. And what he talked about were what are generally described as experiences of the Uttam, somebody in one of the stages of Bhav. And I asked him about that, and he said no, because the qualities and experiences, they'll come down and touch the one in Madhyam to give them encouragement and to give them a taste of what's to come, so to speak. Encourage us more and more. And the same thing happens even to the Kanishta. When you're in good association and with other devotees and chanting nicely, you can feel great pleasure in chanting the holy name, quite different from anything mundane that you've ever experienced. That's everybody's experience who comes to bhakti. That's the reason we come to bhakti. Higher taste, param drishna nivartate, right? So even that kind of taste will put one on the path and guarantee that you won't see Yamaraja, and put you on the path to want to grow and grow. If this is, I remember to this day when I was still a very young devotee in my first few months, and we had come back from a preaching engagement, me and my friend. We kind of spontaneously drove out to Long Island, to one part of Long Island, began preaching door to door. And we even met some old friends and brought them back to the temple. And the temple president, Rupanuga, made a little speech. He was so happy with that initiative that we took to do that. He thought that was very wonderful. And I remember when we came back, we shaved up and it was Sunday, and Bhartaraj was down in the temple. He'd just begun chanting. And what he had chanted that day was actually recorded, and it was a famous cassette. But I remember being upstairs, putting on my clean cloth and getting ready to go down, and hearing that chanting. And it just filled me with so much happiness that I ran down to the temple room. And I can remember to this day just shivering in happiness. And I had my arms upraised, and I was just chanting. And I was so happy. It was a kind of happiness I'd never experienced doing anything else before. And I was conscious at that time, oh my goodness, this is the chanting of the holy name, and this is just a shadow of it. I knew I wasn't an advanced devotee, but if chanting the holy name and hearing it can produce such pleasure in a person like me, then what is the full experience of chanting the holy name? Right? I can remember that to this day. That was greed. That was happiness. Even that shadow, so amazing. So then the next part, verse C of that 5th part, is going to be, now the mercy of the holy name destroys all types of anarthas. Right? So it's going to describe the subtleties of this process, right? If we're practicing, but we're still afflicted by anarthas and this and that, how will the holy name act? How will it work, right? This will be very helpful for us. So we'll stop here, and offer our obeisance with great gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, to Srila Narayan Maharaj, to all of our acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sri Rupa Goswami, having bestowed this extraordinary gift upon us, right? And we're also trying to cultivate, pray with remorse for the offensive mentality that we've had and probably still have. And could this anartha, this mentality, be removed from our heart so that we can practice unobstructed? We want to enter into that the company of these great souls and serve them very humbly and happily so that, our real identity and our real purpose will be revealed, right? That's what we want. That's what we want. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to all the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.